Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 12 of the Clappercast. I'm Sean.
And I'm Burke.
And first off today, I just want to start with acknowledging last week I said Columbus and Montreal played their last game of the season, and that was going to be huge for the playoff positions. Turns out they played earlier this week, so their last games of the season are not against each other, and I was wrong on that.
Yeah. Just a quick note, it is March 31st.
So we are officially in the last weekend of the season, entering the last week, so we are in mourning right now for the loss of another.
I wear black.
Yeah, I'm not wearing black today.
I'm wearing all black today.
Okay, so you are officially in mourning.
Subconsciously knew.
So, lost the end of another exciting season. Lots of interesting storylines, surprising teams, and colossal failures, and some great teams.
Yeah,
A lot of teams. That's been the theme of the season, I think.
A lot of teams.
A lot of teams are existing.
Some don't look like teams.
Some don't look like teams. Some are teams. Some have evolved into skating teams.
Yeah. Who knows what's in store? Let's just touch on that Columbus-Montreal game that you just mentioned.
Yes.
'Cause it was actually a pretty good game.
It was for the first little bit. It was really, really fast-paced, really competitive.
Yeah, so like Sean mentioned, it was a pretty huge game because they're both in the playoff race for wild card, and they both really needed those 2 points.
Yeah. So if Montreal won, they would have been 4 points up, I think. And
yeah, it was like a huge swing in percentages too.
Yeah.
I think if something like 40 points of percentages would change of like their chance of making playoffs or something. It was something ridiculous. And
well, I guess the with 5 games left, the difference between 0 points out and 4 points out is colossal.
Huge, yeah. Yeah, so Columbus looked pretty weak in the first period, but then they had a huge second period.
And then they absolutely blew away with it in the third.
Yeah. And some big performances by their stars.
Oh, yeah. And, that's the Columbus way, I guess, is they've got that hardworking, gritty, physical torts brand of hockey.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they're going to play. And they've got a whole bunch of guys like Cam Atkinson, I think, just hit 41 goals last night.
Quietly.
Yeah.
Very quiet.
I did not realize he was that high. So
yeah.
That's actually, I think he tied the Columbus Blue Jackets franchise record there.
Really? Rick Nash?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So that's surprising to me. I didn't realize he was that many goals.
Yeah, I didn't know he was sitting that high either. Just want to mention that one Duchesne pass to Panarin was insane. He just battled on the boards and then did like a no-look pass basically to Panarin across ice.
Mm-hmm.
Just one-timed it in. It was nice.
Duchesne is ready for playoff hockey.
Finally.
Well, he's played in the playoffs before.
With Colorado?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think he would have had to. I think they made it at least once in the decade or in the 6 years he was there.
Okay. Well, he's ready to be back.
Yeah.
It'll be pretty interesting to see them if they make it. They have a good chance. Maybe let's just touch on that playoff race right now.
I think so.
So we'll start in the East. So again, the Atlantic is all the same. No movement there. The Metro's pretty much the same. It's got the Caps in first, Islanders in second, and the Pens in third.
And last night, the Islanders officially clinched their playoff spot.
Yeah, so first time in 3 years, I think.
What a devastating streak. 3 years.
Yeah, I know. What those fans have gone through.
Yeah. But
so tough.
From where they were projected to be, and on the back of Robin Lehner.
Yep.
And a whole bunch of, I don't know what, Barry Trotz did.
Coached them.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're missing, a real coach.
Wonder if Barry lives in Lamoriello's guest house.
Yeah. It's got the whole Capuano, Garth Snow thing going on again. Yeah. So props to them. That's pretty exciting.
It is.
And
so that's looking like a first-round matchup against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that could be a good series. I'm interested to see if they can blow the shit out of each other in case the Caps... I guess the Caps will play them in the second round if the Caps make it. So...
Yeah, who's there? So they'd be playing Carolina probably, which moving into the wild card spot.
Yeah.
Nice segue.
Yeah. So it looks, just to touch on those Metro teams, I think they'll probably stay where they are. And then wild card is Carolina sitting in first wild card with 93 points. Columbus is in the second wild card with 92. And Montreal's sitting just outside with 92 points, but they've also played one more game.
And Columbus has the wins tiebreaker as well.
Right. So, again, I could see Columbus and Carolina shuffling a little bit maybe, but I really don't think Montreal's going to get in because Columbus is playing really well right now.
They now look like a team.
Yeah, they won 4 straight, I think.
Yep.
So, yeah, they're looking like they've kind of gelled a little bit more and
totally
got their lines figured out. And they're getting some performances from everybody. And Bobrovsky had that insane shutout streak, too. Where it was like, 3 games or something?
Wow.
So
I just remember he had the one like 40-something save shutout. Didn't realize he had a solid streak in there, too.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be able to keep it together for playoffs because he's never really played well in playoffs. He's never let less than 3 goals in a playoff game. So
and yeah, his average stats just take an absolute nosedive come playoff time. So it's going to be...
It's a bit striking.
Yeah.
And a bit worrying if you want a $10 million plus contract as a goalie. So
if he wants Carey Price money, he's going to have to start playing like Carey Price.
In playoffs.
In the playoffs.
Yeah. Or like Jaro Halak.
Yeah, very true. He needs to be that.
So we'll move to the West. The Pacific currently has Calgary at 103, San Jose 97, Vegas 91.
So I don't think anything's happening there. There's not enough games left to make that big of a swing.
No, and they're all kind of struggling a little bit lately. They've all had losing streaks. I know Vegas has lost 5 in a row for the first time ever. Historic.
Ooh.
And San Jose is having some issues.
Yeah, so earlier this week I noticed the stat that even though they at the time were 6th in the league in points, they were 30th in team save percentage.
That's bad.
And the next playoff team that was there was like 15th or something.
Yeah.
So that's not a good sign going into the playoffs, especially when, Martin Jones, like, he is okay, but he's never been an elite goalie, and is he going to turn it around for that? I think their backup is Aaron Dell, and I don't think he's had some good games, but
yeah,
I don't think he's shown that promise of, like, I'm going to come in one day and be this, like, amazing shutout goalie.
Yeah.
So that's going to be very, very worrisome, especially against a high-powered, quick team like Vegas. That you could probably sit down, start watching a game, and before you even notice it, it's like 4-0 Vegas if San Jose's goaltending is going to be like that.
Although Vegas has been struggling as well. I don't know if Fleury's been hurt or why he's been out so much, but Subban has been playing a lot, and he's been letting in some softies.
Yeah.
I know in their last game, like, he saved 30 shots, but so I mean that's probably not his fault that they lost. But if Fleury's not in net, it could be interesting.
Yeah, that could be the way to even up the series.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think Fleury had something going on, like he had a baby that was born or something. That's why he was out. Maybe I can't remember, but
I honestly didn't even know he wasn't playing.
Yeah, I remember Subban's been playing a lot.
Yeah, I think Edmonton played Vegas a few weeks ago, and Subban played, but I think Fleury was injured.
Right. So maybe it's just the same.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Central, Winnipeg's at 94 points, Natural's at 94 points, and then St. Louis is at 92.
I actually didn't realize it was that close still. I thought Winnipeg pulled away a little bit.
Again, Winnipeg and Nashville have been struggling, and St. Louis has not been struggling. They've been doing really well. So it'd be pretty funny if St. Louis gets the first seed in the Central.
What a turnaround. Like, they were last in the NHL last in the West, last in the NHL on early January.
Right.
And to have turned it around to now being contending for a division playoff spot in 4 months.
Yeah. I heard that Craig Berube, they were negotiating about a contract extension for him.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it.
And I
He's
think
turned
they're
that team
waiting
around.
to see how they do, maybe to see how they finish. But I think the job is definitely his. If
It's
he
his to
wants
lose
it.
at this point.
Yeah.
There's no way after that performance, after the way the teams turn around. I mean, a lot of it too. They started getting really good goaltending,
Yeah.
which is going to be a huge confidence boost. Give up less goals. You start being confident in your goalie. Suddenly, you're playing a little bit better.
Right.
But that you got to put some of the credit to the coach there
For
to
sure.
come in and completely turn it around. Like, this wasn't just, oh, we're slightly better. This
Right.
is like worst to first.
So much like Duchesne, maybe Ryan O'Reilly's ready for playoffs again.
Maybe.
Maybe he's not a cursed player like everyone has said. And then the wild card in the West has Dallas at 89 points, Colorado at 85, and then sitting just outside is Arizona 82 and Minnesota 81.
So those teams those two wild card spots are getting a little bit more set in stone now.
Yeah, and much like Columbus played Montreal, Colorado played Arizona, and that was a huge game too because they were both sitting just outside wild card, I think, at that point.
I think if Arizona would have won,
It would have been flipped.
yeah.
So Arizona would have I think it would have been a 2-point lead on Colorado.
Yeah, I didn't actually see that game, but
I didn't watch it either. But I kept checking in on the score, and I think it was scoreless until the third.
So it was pretty close.
And it might have. Did it go to a shootout? I don't know.
I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
I totally.
I don't know. I
just saw
think
the
there's
result.
not going to be too much movement in that wild card. I think the movement might happen in the Central. Might flip around and see who's going to
for
play
sure.
who. It'd be pretty funny if St. Louis gets first and then Winnipeg and Nashville is a first-round matchup.
Oh. I mean, after last season, like, that was the one that killed both of those teams.
Yeah.
Like, that was probably the best series of the playoffs
I would say that the Caps Pens was the best for me.
for you. Yeah.
But it was probably the Eastern version of that matchup.
Yeah, it might have been the hardest fought. Maybe
You really thought the winner of that was going to go to the Cup.
they probably should have, but
Yeah.
that series absolutely destroyed Winnipeg.
It was a fun series.
Yeah,
And and then they
Winnipeg
didn't have enough in the tank to beat Vegas.
Winnipeg was running on fumes by the time they got to Vegas, and
And that's not to take anything away from Vegas. They still played their game and outworked them and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And got their bounces. But
yeah, Winnipeg just didn't have the energy left to counter it. Vegas just controlled.
that was a long series against Nashville. So yeah, that wraps up our playoff race talk.
Yeah, and I
So-
think I think you've been mentioning you wanted to see Dallas and Colorado make it in the two wild card spots. So
I wanted Arizona
right.
and Colorado.
Arizona and Colorado.
So one of them's not too bad.
Okay, fair enough.
Dallas, I could take. It's gonna be interesting to see them in playoffs. They haven't been in a while.
Now, have you heard anything about Ben Bishop's injury?
I didn't know he was even hurt.
Because he left the game against Calgary earlier this week with an injury, and I haven't heard
Oh.
anything about him since.
I haven't. I didn't even know he was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So has Doughty been playing?
Yeah. So luckily they've got, after how many years of being let down by defense and goaltending in Dallas, they finally have two reliable goalies from the looks of it.
Right.
But that's going to be a huge loss if they have to go into the playoffs without Ben Bishop.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing beats a gigantic goalie.
Except a shot that goes high.
Or
Mikko
low.
Koskinen.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's been in lots of playoffs before too, Bishop. So
Yeah, tons of
that
experience.
could be huge.
Yeah.
I haven't really been keeping up to date on Dallas if they've been playing really well or not lately. I mean, their points look like they have, but
I mean,
don't
they've
know.
maintained. They've been in that first wildcard spot for quite a while now.
yeah, I mean, they're only
So-
3 points back of St. Louis. I don't know how many games they've played, but yeah, I mean, I don't think they've clinched.
Not yet.
Yeah,
How many points do they have?
89. Colorado's at 85 and St. Louis is at 92.
Yeah, so Arizona being at 81, they probably
82.
still have 82. So they're only 7 points back, and they for sure have 4 games left. So
Yeah.
they wouldn't have clinched yet.
I would like to see Arizona make it, but I don't know. Minnesota's, I don't think they have a chance, but
They've really tapered off from being from being a few points in the first wild card spot.
Boudreaux's probably gone, hey?
I have to think so.
I would think that even for him, he'd probably want to leave. There's probably more promising teams you could go coach.
Yeah, and I mean, oddly enough, he's one of the best coaches in the league in the regular season.
Yeah,
like
Caps.
How
Ducks.
many seasons has his team had over 100 points?
A lot. I don't know how many, but a lot.
And like, I'm trying to think back. Like, this is probably the worst regular season performance a team he's coached has had. It has.
Yeah, and I mean, he's just outside of playoffs,
and that's pretty impressive. But none of his teams have ever been able to go anywhere in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's gone and he's going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I think so.
He'll get a job.
Edmonton.
Don't you want to keep the cock?
He can stay. I don't know if he'll stay as head coach because I'm not even going to start speculating on head coach until I figure out the GM because there's no point. Hitchcock wants to stay. He sounds completely happy with being a part of the Oilers. Like, he's a huge Oilers fan from Edmonton and everything. So, like, for him to get a chance to come and be a part of that team, and I mean, despite everything, he sounds content with how it all played out.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this in a previous episode about how we both wanted to see him stay just for some stability. And
yeah, I'm totally okay with it. And the other thing, too, is he's just such a well-spoken, intelligent person.
Yeah.
That even if he's not coaching, I would very much like to see him involved with something in the team, as like a coaching advisor or like some sort of advisory role.
Right.
To help transition the team into the new game, the new NHL. Yeah,
that would be beneficial, I think.
Yeah, and he's just such a wealth of knowledge, and he keeps learning.
Right.
So,
there's some bit of a hot topic going around right now is the code that exists in the NHL.
Right.
So I wanted to touch on that. So the code is basically just unwritten rules in the league, or in hockey in general, So what sparked this debate is that Paul Byron fought Mackenzie Weegar, I don't know, earlier this week or something. And Paul Byron lost the fight pretty decisively.
Very quickly, very decisively.
And left the ice with, the shaky legs. It looked like he was out of it.
He got dropped by one punch.
He's got a conky. He's got a concussion.
Yeah.
And he hasn't played. And Montreal's in a very important playoff race. Now, what prompted this fight is that earlier in the season, Byron hit Weegar in the head, got kicked out, got suspended, served his time, so to speak. I think he got, a 3-game or 2-game?
The trend for the season seems to be 2 games.
Right. So this is the first time that they played each other since, and these are teams that don't really like each other because Domi also punched Ekblad in the face in preseason.
Yep.
And there's just a bit of bad blood. So Paul Byron's a guy who's 5'9", 165 pounds, and Weegar's a guy who's 6 foot, 200 pounds.
So that's quite the size difference there.
So in professional fighting, this fight wouldn't have been allowed.
No, that's way too big.
Most cases in hockey, no one's taking that fight.
No.
But the code says that, Weegar is entitled to some compensation, so to speak.
Compensation in the form of
not compensation. What's the word I'm looking for? Some satisfaction.
Satisfaction?
Yeah. It's like
Vengeance?
a duel. It's a duel. So Weegar challenged him. It's very obvious on the broadcast.
Yeah, so we just watched the video before the podcast to make sure. And Weegar's off screen, but the mannerisms of Byron indicate how Weegar was acting.
Yeah, so he asked him for a fight. Byron turns around, looks at him for a second, and then they drop the gloves and they fight, and then Weegar ends the fight.
Yes.
With 1 or 2 punches. Lets Byron go down. He's out. Looked like he got knocked out. And then as he's skating off the ice, he's, like I said, he's got the shaky legs and looked really bad.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where the controversy comes in, because Byron is so much smaller and because he got hurt, that people think that this code shouldn't exist. And I don't think you're ever going to get rid of it, because it's just so ingrained in hockey culture from when you're a kid even.
So I'm still confused. Like, why do they think the code should be gone? Because there is this obligation to fight?
I think
Is
so.
that, is
and
that kind of the argument there?
Because of maybe head contact. It's hard to find an argument that's not ingrained in being a fan of the Habs. I've found. I know Pierre LeBrun said that he thinks it's time for the code to go away because of head contact and how it's just stupid, and how Byron got penalized by the league and had to sit out. But that's not how hockey players work.
That's
right?
not how anybody works.
Yeah.
Like
The next
like
time
if someone,
you see that guy in a game,
yeah,
you know,
like just in real life, if somebody robs you and then they get sent to jail for a year or whatever when they get caught, you're still gonna be pissed at them when they
you're
leave.
not going to like them still. You're going to be like, oh, yeah, that guy's a good guy. You know, he went
Yeah.
to jail. He's a good guy now.
Like it's the
No, you
normal
still-
course of action.
Byron hit him in the head. The guy's entitled to feel upset
Yeah.
about that. And just as Byron is in his full right to deny the fight.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to fight him.
He could have very easily said no. I mean, hockey players you're supposed to stand up for yourself, but you still can't be irresponsible and take that fight if you don't think you're going to be, if you're putting yourself into danger like that.
And Byron's not a fighter.
No.
And even if he was a fighter, with that size disadvantage, you have to be a very good fighter to win that fight.
Yeah.
And there's not very many guys in the league that small that are that good at fighting.
No, not at all, because it's even beyond technique. It's just the simple fact of reach.
Yeah.
Like you have to reach up in a way to get someone who's that much taller than you and bigger than you. And Weegar just kind of has to stand there and like lean his head back a little bit.
Yeah. So all this talk about the code and whatnot. The code didn't get Byron injured. Byron not refusing to fight got him injured.
Yeah. So the argument that I can see is that like both parties were a bit irresponsible. Like Weegar knows that Byron's a lot smaller, so he shouldn't challenge him, and Byron shouldn't accept the fight because he knows he's that much smaller.
Yeah, so why bring the code into this? It's just the two guys involved. It's not a greater deal. You're making a greater deal than it should be.
It's not like the fight came from someone jumping another guy. It wasn't like, Byron declined and then Weegar jumped him anyways. Like, I could see that being like, that's a code issue.
Yeah, so in a striking thing here to me is that I actually agree with Don Cherry's opinion on this.
So in other words, you're an 80-year-old senile xenophobe.
Perhaps. So don't worry, I have something that I disagree with Cherry on for later. So
in case you're only 40 then.
Yeah. He said that this Byron incident would not have happened if the Montreal Canadiens had an enforcer type player like Tom Wilson. He name dropped Wilson in his comment.
Yeah.
And I think that's totally right.
I do agree with that, with the idea of that. And I'm going to use Edmonton as an example. That McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nugent Hopkins don't have to answer the call on that type of thing because the team has Lucic, Cassian, Nurse, Larson, Kara.
Right.
To do that for them, to get involved physically.
Right. So who did McDavid hit in the head?
Nick Leddy.
So if Nick Leddy wanted to fight McDavid, that's not fucking happening, right? That's not going to fucking happen.
No, any one of those 5 players would have stepped
Anybody
in.
on the ice with McDavid will get in that instead.
I mean, fucking Joseph Gambardella did. He's like a 5'9".
Yeah, right? Like
he went after Lindholm.
And like the Capitals, because that's the team that Cherry name dropped. You know, you saw it earlier in the season. Kuzi got fucking blindside hit by Ian Cole. Wilson jumps in to defend him. That's just what happens.
And breaks Ian Cole.
Yeah. Not that Kuzi was trying to fight him, but in playoffs last year against Lightning, when someone was trying to like ragdoll Kuzi around, you saw Wilson in there just like mad dogging, trying to get to whoever he could, like trying to fuck somebody up.
Yeah.
Because that's his teammate that he wants to protect and not get hurt, because he knows Wilson's the better option of going off for 5 minutes than Kuznetsov or whoever, right?
And that's basically Cherry's argument is like, if the Canadiens had a player like Wilson, then Byron wouldn't have had to answer that because whoever this hypothetical fighter type person is would have done that for him.
Yeah, and you see that all the time in games. You don't fight people who are out of your weight class. You wait for someone who's in your weight class to challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Unless you're Zdeno Chara, and then you just kind of have to make do with what
whoever,
you get.
Yeah. But Cherry's 100% right that there's still a place in the game for these type of players. And you see these type of players evolving. Like, Wilson's not just a fighter. He's a talented player.
And, yeah, the concern that I have with Cherry's statement on that is when he says enforcer, I immediately assume he's talking like a Colton or Steve McIntyre type who doesn't do much but fight.
Yeah, that's where I think I draw the distinction.
Yeah.
It's not an enforcer. It's just a guy who can fight.
Exactly.
And Wilson's, dollars to donuts, he's the best fighter in the league for me because he has that talent, and he hasn't lost a fight since his rookie year.
Yeah, he's the best player who also fights.
And I also want to tie this into the Capitals game last night against Tampa. So this bad blood has been boiling since playoffs. That was a crazy series where the Capitals had the hit advantage, the physical advantage, and they played each other 3 times in 15 days. So there's a lot of emotion and lots of storylines.
Mm-hmm.
So the second game, is it Cernak or Chernak?
I don't know.
I'll
just say
Cernak.
Cernak.
So Cernak and Wilson were going after each other all game, and Paquette also had a weird altercation with Kempny where Kempny fell down and hurt his leg. So you knew that there was going to be.
Jumped him, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
I know he didn't try and hurt him, but Kempny fell awkwardly, and Paquette was punching him as he was down. Yeah. So that's obviously not going to fly when you have players like Tom Wilson on your team. So you kind of thought some shit was going to go down. There was 2 fights in the game. Orpik fought and Wilson fought.
Yeah, and on that note, remind me never to make Brooks Orpik mad.
He's scary. He's got like the
he just
100-mile or 100-yard stare. Like, he's got like the there's nothing behind my eyes look, you know?
Yeah, like watching that fight, he just dominated. Like,
yeah.
It wasn't like a KO domination, but it was just like a physical overpowering.
Yeah. Strong. He's really jacked, and he's what, 38, 39 or something?
Has to be.
And he's probably the most fit guy on the team. And he's pretty renowned for his training and how hard he goes, and it's pretty impressive that he's still that old, air quotes. He's 39. He's not 80, but he's still playing in the game. He's not super slow, you know. He's slow, but he's not he's not as slow as he could be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, if he wasn't as big on the training and fitness.
Caps, I think, won both of those fights, but it just shows that there's still a place for that in the league, because it gets the guys going, and you stand up for your teammates that got hurt earlier in the year or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So it was just, and then bad blood too, right? Like, that's fun for everybody to see.
So that's when the games get, emotional. That's when you get into it. Yeah. I mean, it's basically me watching a game against Anaheim. Nothing has to happen, and I'm already pissed off.
And to kind of wrap this up, is Paquette injured Kempny, but Paquette wasn't involved in either fight. So, the code demands Paquette fight or whatever, but no, it doesn't really, right? It's just the teams, right? Because Wilson versus Paquette would be the same sort of matchup.
Because did you look up how big Paquette was before?
No, I didn't. I think he's a smaller forward, though.
Yeah.
Got a French name, probably smaller, right?
Okay, Don Cherry.
Yeah. So it's not a matchup that those teams want, so they fight within their weight class. And that's what the code demands, I think. I think Byron just didn't turn him down, and there was nobody else around to take the fight for him.
And even then, I guess I was going to say, what about Jordy Ben or Shea Weber? So, I mean, at least even they're more suited to it. I don't really think they're either of them are big fighters, but
Yeah, I mean that's probably a better matchup though than
Yeah,
a 5'9" forward who's known for his speed and not his fighting.
yeah.
So
His foot speed, not his hand speed.
yeah, it's just
Fist of fury.
I don't get the outrage about the code. I know you're trying to protect players about heads and stuff, but like we said last time, you don't get serious long-term damage from fighting. It's from repeated
Yeah.
hits.
It's just that's the easy one because it's very obvious direct head contact,
Yeah.
which can and does contribute to it, but
Yeah.
it's not like it's not the main or the most dangerous source.
And plus, most times after a fight, you see the guys give the other guy a tap, or if they knock him out, they let him down. Like Tom Wilson's really good at that. If he fights someone, he lets up and he like kind of eases them down.
Yeah.
Doesn't keep punching, unless it's Ian Cole and he keeps him upright to keep punching him because it's a cheap shot. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts about it. I know that was kind of a tangled mess of consciousness, but it just pisses me off that people complain about fighting because of some unwritten rules. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, yeah, the argument didn't. I don't see where the argument against the code is. It's just they both accepted the fight. That's like the code is that you're not. To my knowledge, like the code is that you're not forcing someone to fight.
Yeah, you
Is
turn it down.
the essence of it, that you're not jumping someone, you're not forcing them. If they say no, you agree. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And Byron said yes. They were both irresponsible. You can say that, and asking and accepting for the fight, but they both ultimately did and accepted it. So that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Weegar was trying to give him a concussion either.
No.
Like, if Byron just lost that fight, would there be this much?
No, not at all.
Yeah, nobody would be calling about how it needs to change. They might talk shit about Weegar fighting a guy who's so much smaller, but anyway.
Yeah.
So I'll touch on that other Cherry comments that I don't like.
Okay.
It's more about a response a certain player made about them. So Cherry has been pretty vocal about condemning Kuznetsov's Birdman
Oh, okay. Yeah.
sellies. And he's picked on it a lot, much like the bunch of jerks, Carolina.
He called Kuznetsov a jerk too, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. So the reason that this comment came up is because the Capitals played the Hurricanes 2 games in a row. So reporters were asking about the jerks and stuff to Kuznetsov, and Kuznetsov said that, he doesn't really care about Cherry, and then he should shut his mouth, basically.
Which is fair.
Yeah, it's pretty fair. And he's kind of trash talked him a little bit.
Yeah.
He said like,
Something about his CHL coaching
yeah, he
record.
said something about Cherry's CHL coaching record sucks, so he shouldn't really talk.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of funny.
It's just a good comment. I mean, you don't see that much from hockey players, and it's just funny to see back
Well, it's
after.
just, yeah, I mean, Kuznetsov does it for his daughter. He's said that publicly. That his daughter likes it when he does it, and now it's just kind of his thing.
Yeah, and I mean, even taking out the reason aside, that's not even an obnoxious celebration.
No, and he's not doing it to the other teams. Like,
He's not like standing in the goalie's face,
Bench.
flapping his arms. Like
I know Cherry's got his fucking tires pumped a little bit earlier in the season when Kuznetsov scored with like a minute left to force overtime, and he did the celly against Columbus.
Mhm.
And then when Columbus won in overtime, they all kind of mocked the celebration. So
Which is
Cherry, of
also
course,
good
was like,
hockey.
"See, my point is proven that this pisses off the opponent." I don't get it.
First, yeah, and I mean that's good hockey. To be honest,
Yeah.
like that's fun to watch.
Yeah,
When someone does that and then they mock it back. Like that's fun to watch.
Yeah,
It's
again,
not personal.
it's the bad blood, right?
Yeah.
Like it builds a story that
And
you know.
now going into the next game, Capitals fans are going to be like, get him back for mocking the
Yeah,
bird
do the
celly.
celly, right?
Like-
Do it, the Birdman, and then they made a Caps. The Caps had a koozie bobble night against the Canes, and it was him doing the bird celly.
And
So it's just funny.
and here we'll take it away from Don Cherry's old school stuff. How good is that for the NHL's marketing?
It's great.
If they have this iconic Kuznetsov bird celebration.
Yeah,
Like you're gonna
it's
have
hilarious.
people who aren't hockey fans being like, oh, who's the bird guy?
Yeah, who's this bird man in the
And
NHL?
like they're gonna know Kuznetsov as the bird selly guy. Like that's great for marketing.
And he's got the iconic goal against the Penguins to win that series, and he does the bird selly, so he can do it all day long in my books.
Yeah.
Like he's earned the right. He's scoring in the NHL. He can do whatever he wants. It's not like he's fucking doing double fingers to the crowd. Like
Andrew Ferentz.
It's not disrespectful. It's just he's celebrating scoring with his teammates.
You keep hearing like, oh, act like you've been there before. Well, he's been there before. He does the bird selly, so he's gonna act like that again.
Yeah, Stanley Cup champion can do what he wants. Yeah. So just wanted to point that out. So I don't think Cherry is infallible. He is still. That's like the one comment I agree with him on out of like 99% of his stuff I disagree with.
Once in a while he says something insightful, or he's actually got like, because he was championing the hybrid icing stuff, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Like that was, I mean, I doubt it was him that got it changed, but like he was leading that, like, this icing rule needs to be changed.
The stuff about like, I also think he was talking about like the boards and how they didn't have like the curved glass and stuff, and a lot of the basic stuff he's right about. Like he hates when players put their stick like in front of the puck. Yeah,
because it ramps up, like Werenski, like on Werenski, and just happened to Matt Benning against.
And he was also talking about on goalie masks, the cat eyes, how they're not wide, they're too wide, so sticks can go through. So he was talking about how you should have a smaller holes, even though it might affect the goalie's vision, because there's been injuries, like Lundqvist got a stick in the eye, and so there's lots of stuff he's right about. But just when he talks about personalities and stuff in the league, he's got the most outrageous personality. So for him to talk shit is, the pot calling the kettle black.
Well, it's like you said when he came out with a bunch of jerks when that started, that these guys are showing too much personality, says the man wearing curtains as a suit.
Yeah, he's ridiculous.
So
like you're on a segment with just you and Ron, and you're wearing that. Like that's more outrageous than a group of guys after the game doing something with the fans. Interestingly enough, they said that they're done for the season of doing that. I mean, the season's not that much longer, but
I think it's like 3 or 4 games left for them. I wonder if they're gonna bring. Did he say if that was gonna be the playoffs too?
I don't know, but
I wonder if they'll bring it back.
Since then, Williams said that you never know when we'll bring it back, so I think they'll probably do it in playoffs.
It would be a missed opportunity if they didn't.
Yeah,
once they're on the main stage like that.
They still did one like after he said that though, because they did.
Well, that was after.
They did the same one that they did to start it all.
Okay, maybe that was just like a conclusion one.
So it was against the Capitals. He had before the game. He tweeted out that regardless of the outcome tonight, we're done doing, like, this will be tonight will be the last Storm Surge, and they lost the game. And they did one the next time they won at home. So it's like, okay, well, what do you actually mean here, Justin?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How about Drew Doughty sounding off on the league?
Oh yeah.
That came out of nowhere, to be honest. Like he just had like a few out of nowhere comments on players.
Yeah. So he mentioned Matthew Tkachuk,
Brent Burns, and Giordano, but Giordano was positive.
Right, yeah.
And like this happened as we were uploading our last episode. I checked our hockey, and that was like the first thing there. It was Drew Doughty sounding off on Tkachuk being absolutely disrespectful and just terrible.
Yeah, I don't think it's a great look for Doughty, but I can't really fault what he's saying too much.
Neither can I. I mean, like, obviously with Doughty being the player and of prominence that he is, you don't want him saying stuff like that really, like, publicly about other teams' players, about his, well, I guess opponents, but
yeah,
why now? I guess
I think it comes across as whiny and
yes,
kind of a bitch move on a team that's doing really bad. But like I said, I can't really fault what he said too much because it's true in my opinion.
And I mean, watching Matthew Tkachuk, he is that type of player. I mean, his favorite player is Corey Perry.
That says it all.
That says more than enough. So on the ice, he is a bit of a pesty, aggravator type.
I just think it's telling of how much Tkachuk has gotten under his skin, that even off the ice, he's complaining about him. It's kind of like the Ryan Johansson-Kessler stuff.
Yeah, very true.
Where they were going at each other off the ice, and Johansson was complaining about him and stuff. And now, like, Doughty's on a team that's not going into playoffs. Tkachuk is, and it just comes across as pretty sad that you're going to make these comments. And what he said about Brent Burns is that he's not a very good D-man.
Basically, yeah, he said, like, why is he in the Norris contention? He gets beat 3 times a game. Just watch the tapes.
And again, he's not wrong.
No, he's not. Like, Burns gets Norris consideration because he's, like, one of the best offensive defensemen in the league.
Right.
I think that's been pretty clear from the start that he's never been, like, the defensive wizard that Doughty might be.
Right.
That he's there because he's a defenseman putting up 70 points a year.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, for the best defenseman in the league, like, I feel like there should be a little bit more consideration for defensive play, so I'm not kind of agreeing with Doughty in that sense.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I agree. I mean, defense is such a hard thing to rate.
You can't quantify
It's all like, if you do get a lot of points as a D-man, you always get Norris contention.
Exactly. Its defense is at this point pretty much impossible to develop an actual qualitative evaluation method.
Yeah.
That is, like, reliable and valid across all different spots of the game, teams, situations, that you end up, like, the Norris is kind of built a reputation as, like, a reputation-based award.
Yeah, it really has.
As confusing as that sentence was, like players,
you didn't get it last year, we owe you this one.
And that's basically what happened. I think it was
it Doughty
that
won
it? Yeah. That you don't necessarily get Norris votes based off your defensive performance that year. It's kind of the reputation you've built around the league as a defensive player, whether or not that's accurate or not. And It's also heavily weighted towards the points production.
Yes, it is.
So defense, like, you can have a really good defensive defenseman, but if they don't put up 30 points, they're not going to get consideration for it. They're just going to get it completely overlooked.
Which is bullshit, because Mike Green didn't win it when he put up fucking insane numbers, and then it switched to being this offensive defenseman award.
Yeah, and that's basically been in the last 10 years or so, that
and
it's like reputation and offense.
If it wasn't about points, Vlasic would have like 6 Norris trophies.
Easily.
And one thing I wanted to mention about that is Quinn Hughes made his NHL debut this week for the Vancouver Canucks. Offensive defenseman again. He got put in NHL 19, and he's got a 80 overall.
Which I think is absurd, because rookies never get that high unless, like, a first overall pick.
Yeah, and he's tiny. And he's got no experience. Like, so how are you getting that rating?
Yeah, because
because he didn't get fucking blown up in one game in the NHL.
I think the 80 came out before he even played the game.
It's just fucking stupid. It's just that offensive defenseman stuff. I think that was extremely tied to that.
I think the offensive defenseman is incredibly important to the game now because of the skill speed-based play.
Yeah.
But offense is in different parts than just point production. Like one of the first breakout pass, basically.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of being a good defenseman, is the ability to make a clean pass on the breakout.
Yeah, that's part of being an offensive defenseman too, right?
You can't quantify that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as dumb as it sounds, Chris Russell is actually pretty good at that.
Yeah, a good pass.
Like, he actually has a decent first pass for the defenseman that he is. But, I mean, that doesn't get consideration, and he doesn't put up many points.
Well, and someone like John Carlson, who's probably going to be in Norris contention, makes
he
a
was
really
good last
bad,
season.
makes a really bad breakout pass.
He just has a rocket of a shot.
Yeah.
And also can feed Ovi a lot.
Yeah. And I like him on the team. It's just he's not the greatest defensively.
And he probably will get some Norris consideration this year, or at least be close to the finalist position, because he was really good last year.
Yeah. And then someone like Michael Kempney, who's good defensively, is not like those type of D-men are not even talked about.
No.
Even though they put up like fat minutes every game, just chew up minutes, they're not talked about.
It's like, do you remember that saying where it's like, if someone's a really good defenseman, you won't notice them?
Yeah.
Like, you can't. It's hard to quantify and give out an award for defensive play when, if you're a good defenseman, you don't get noticed.
Yeah.
That's how you know you're doing well.
Well, it's like on Nashville, probably how like everyone picks out like Subban and Yossi.
Yeah, because Subban's flashy.
Mm-hmm. And Yossi gets points, but then you have like Ekholm and Ellis, you know. And then I wanted to talk about a bit about how Doughty mentioned Giordano.
Yes.
So someone he'd rather have on his team, you know, than Burns or anybody on San Jose, I think was his comment.
Something like that. Like Giordano, basically saying Giordano's actually a good defenseman. He should be getting the Norris.
Yeah, he said like he's a guy that I'd want on my team.
Yeah, which is fair, because I think Giordano is probably the front runner for the Norris this year.
I think so.
I mean, I think he's been better than Hedman.
Yeah, and his age and how good he is, and
and I think
how
this
much of a piece of a team he is.
This is a good chance too, because he's put up 70 points, but he's also really, really solid defensively.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting from Doughty how you have like criticism of one Flames player, but then praise and admiration for another. So it's not like he's just attacking a team. It's just that individual player he doesn't like, which is very obvious on ice. But I still don't think it's a good look for him.
No, it isn't. It's okay. It's okay if, like, as a fan, I'm watching it and I'm like, that's good. That's good content.
Yeah, that's juicy content.
Yeah, which, that's the stuff we want to see as fans, to like bring emotion and involvement in the game, and these players actually kind of showing personality. But it's just not a good look for the player in particular.
Yeah.
And it's also funny, a few days later when Tkachuk got given that sport community engagement award or something.
Yeah,
sportsmanship
it's
or something.
He is representative of sportsmanship and
which like on the ice, but the award was off the ice, which I can agree with, because by all accounts he's actually like an insanely nice person off the ice and is very involved with like causes and fans and all that.
Yeah, I mean, him and Brady both grew up around that, and they know how to do that.
Yeah, they know how to act as hockey players. They know how to treat the fans and everything. So that part's totally fine.
It's kind of funny with that juxtaposition of he's a shithead and he's a pillar of the community.
Exactly.
Pretty funny. One thing that I wanted to mention before I forget is Ovi potted his 50th of the season.
So that's impressive. I think he's now got the most 50-goal seasons alongside Gretzky and Bossy.
Yeah, so he's got 8. And last year he got 49. So he's
close.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
And so he's sitting at 51. He got 2 in that game last night. So I'm hoping he can get another Richard. That'd be pretty fucking neato.
He's got a 4-goal lead on Draisaitl now, so he's pretty safe.
Is anybody else close? I know Tavares was pretty high up.
Kane, I think it's Kane and Tavares, and they're about 45-ish.
Oh yeah. Well,
so I think he's got it pretty much wrapped up. Unless Draisaitl has another Hattie.
How many games do the Oilers have left?
4 or 5.
Okay. I think the Caps have 3. I don't know. So you could get like 10 or you could get like 0. Who knows?
Yeah.
So
that's the fun.
Hope you can get 55 or hit 60. That would be
cool. Insane for the last 3 games of the season.
3 hat tricks.
I mean,
do it.
He's almost done it once before.
Yeah. He's got to be like the beginning of the season, the opening
2 or 3 games.
2 or 3 game movie. Or you can just save it for playoffs. That's cool too.
Yeah. I feel like the playoffs would be the better place for that outburst.
Yeah. Could you imagine in like
In one series
just gets like 3 or 4 hat tricks? That'd be sweet.
Oh man. Now here's me thinking like I think Draisaitl had 14 points or something in the 6 games against the Ducks a couple years ago.
Yeah, he was insane in that.
Just
series.
imagine Ovi getting a Hattie a game against the Canes.
That'd be so cool. A man can dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I have
That's
on
like-
my list here about anything. I don't know if you have anything else to bring up.
Yeah, so this one was kind of interesting to me. Earlier this week, Elliot Friedman said that Bob Nicholson wants to bring Mike Gillis in for an interview for the Oilers GM position. However, others in the organization do not want to because Mike Gillis was Michael Nylander's agent back in like 2008 or something when Nylander was about to sign with Edmonton.
not like
so-
they hold a grudge or anything.
Yeah, so I'm wondering who these others in the organization are. Cough, cough, Kevin Lowe. That's this 10-year-old grudge because like I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but it was basically like Michael Nylander was confirmed to sign with the Oilers to the point that it was able to be posted on the Oilers' website.
Oh.
Then the next day when they were about to like finalize this or whatever, or the next time they contacted each other, they learned that Michael Nylander was signed in Washington.
Yeah.
So there's this turn that I don't know what happened behind the scenes to cause it.
I don't know.
I just thought that was interesting I'm perfectly fine if Mike Gillis doesn't get an interview. I'm not a huge fan of that potential hire, but
Yeah, I was going to ask. I was working at a store one time here in town, and he came in. Everyone was, like, fawning over him and how he was in the store. This was after he got fired. Everyone was like, oh, he led the Canucks to the Cup Finals. I was like, he was a pretty bad general manager, though. Yeah,
So
it was just funny.
that's concerning that they're still like they won't even bring him in for an interview because of this apparent
That's
beef.
who you want making your decisions, people who hold grudges like that.
Yeah.
I mean, is that confirmed or is that just
It's
rumors?
Elliot Friedman said it on his podcast. Said it on a podcast. So
Okay. So it's probably pretty solid.
I trust that Elliot has a very good reason to say that is true.
Yeah.
I think that's worth it. I also wanted to ask, so currently the Oilers are sitting at 77 points, one behind last season's total of 78.
Okay.
They still have 4 games left, I think.
Yep.
So even though they're against tough teams, they are likely to pick up enough points to match, if not pass that total.
Right.
So with that and with the amount of players who are setting career highs, would you actually end up considering this season a success if they happen to get up to 80, 82 points, where it's technically an improvement over last year?
I don't think so. I think it's still not a success.
I'm in the middle, because it's like if they improve, like all these players are improving, they're technically improving a little bit, and they are kind of where I position them to be, barring like in the exact position I thought they would be, like battling for a wild card spot, barring major injuries.
Yeah. I don't know, because I'm a fan of a team that makes playoffs every year, so it's hard for me to gauge.
It's hard for you to call this missing the playoffs as a success in any shape.
Yeah, because to me, making playoffs is successful, or, winning the President's Trophy, or, yeah, it's hard. I know that's eventually going to come for me, but it's just, I can't fathom how to gauge middle of the pack success.
For sure.
Because, there's the draft options, but playoffs is always the goal. So it's tough. I mean, I guess it is marginal improvement.
Yeah, and that's basically like I'm not about to run around saying, "Oh, they did so good this year."
Yeah.
But if they do happen to put up more points and you've got all these guys putting up career years, is it maybe just a success for certain people, or?
Yeah, I think it's individual success, because I think they're the first team since like the '89 Penguins to have 200 plus point scores and
That's
not
actually
make playoffs.
Not make playoffs. Yeah, I guess
Because they had
But
Lemieux and Yager. So I think that's a tough stat.
Yeah.
I mean, it shows that you have some fucking good players.
I mean, McDavid's in on 51% of the team's goals. Draisaitl's 47, I think.
Yeah, so that's insane. I just think it shows it's hard to gauge that as a failure of this year's Oilers.
Right.
Because that's obviously something that goes back to management of the team over a longer period of time.
Yeah.
So is it getting better because these players are doing better, or is it worse because they still haven't given them like depth?
Yeah, the support that they need to
or goaltending
succeed.
Or whatever it is. So
Excuse me, Mikko Kostinen's glove hand is an excellent goaltender.
I think the one success for the Oilers would be their farm team
Absolutely.
this season. I'm not sure how are they going into playoffs.
Yep. They clinched. They're second in the league.
Yeah, so that's definitely a success. I mean,
And
I know
this
you're not going to
is-
go out and buy a Bakersfield jersey or anything, but that's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And the fact that the team didn't slide down in points is a success.
Yeah. So it might not be considering the season's success rather than considering it not a failure.
Yeah, I think there's
It's-
probably more
It meets expectations.
positives than negatives, which is a success. It just was hard for me to wrap my head around how to look at that because, like I said, my team just it's like, oh yeah, they're in playoffs. Wow.
Well,
sweet.
yeah, I mean, in general, you don't see success as marginal improvement. You see success as like actual.
Are we a contender
achievements.
or not?
Yeah.
Do you think the Caps are a contender this year?
Yeah.
I
mean,
think the
it's
East
hard.
is tough.
It's hard to not consider the reigning Cup champs a contender, but I don't think they are the contender.
yeah, I
I
don't think
think-
they're the favorite. But
Honestly, I think Tampa and Calgary are more contenders than the Caps.
okay, because this week sometime, the odds to win the Cup, Carolina was higher than the Capitals.
Oh wow.
It's just stupid to me. I guess the Capitals always get fucked by that, but
Well, I guess because Carolina would end up with an easier second round
probably.
because the Caps would end up playing, Pittsburgh. And if Carolina wins their first round, then they wouldn't end up with that. They'd end up with they'd end up with an easier matchup.
Yeah.
But even to go all the way to the Cup, that's kind of I don't know how those models are created.
Yeah, it was just insane that the Capitals were less than that. I guess it's Vegas odds, so they probably say,
Oh, if it's
Same.
Vegas odds, it's probably like betting
yeah, it is.
hugely influenced by where the bets are going and everything.
But it's like they probably just don't like Washington. Who do you as of right now, we'll do this in a later podcast, next week's episode, but who's your pick, West East, to make the final?
It's hard to say anybody but Tampa Bay out of the East.
Could it be a rematch?
It very well could be because, like, I'm thinking of the teams in the West. I mean, Calgary is the best team in the West.
Yep.
San Jose is good, but they've got holes in their game right now,
Goaltending.
and
They
goaltending
got
is too
5
much
holes
of a
in their game right now.
yeah. Their goaltending is too much of a question mark for me right now. Like, Vegas is built for a playoff success, so I wouldn't put it past them to do well again. And I mean, Nashville and Winnipeg are slumping hard, and Winnipeg's been exposed pretty bad lately.
But Bufflin and Morrissey are coming back.
So that will help, and I think that'll correct.
And
their
for the
issues.
Sharks, Carlson's coming back, but that might hurt them.
Yeah, considering I think their record was better without him.
Yeah.
To be honest, St. Louis is hot, so
Yeah.
they've got that hot goalie factor.
But they're also like Caps West. I guess Sharks and St. Louis are both Caps West.
Yeah.
Where they have that choking moniker.
Yeah, and I mean wild card. I highly doubt that Dallas and Colorado are going to make it anywhere.
I don't think so either.
To be like, I think from the West, I would say Calgary, Vegas, and St. Louis are the most likely to get through.
Yeah. I think the West, I pick Calgary, and I want to pick Winnipeg.
You can pick Edmonton.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Edmonton's my pick.
They're not technically eliminated yet.
Calgary and Winnipeg is who I'd want to pick, but I think Calgary, Vegas, maybe St. Louis, but I don't know. Yeah, Calgary, Vegas.
The West is just really hard to pick. I mean, even the East. It's just Tampa's the easy pick, but you can never discount Pittsburgh.
No.
Washington's the reigning Cup champs. They're still doing really, really well.
Islanders have that.
And the Islanders have the hot goalie factor.
Yeah, have the hot goalie and play by committee.
So
I don't think Carolina's got a shot. And
if they do,
Columbus,
it's only going to be on energy. There's going to be that buzzing team.
I don't know about Columbus though.
I mean, they're most likely at this point going to be playing Tampa in the first round. They've never won a playoff series, and Bobrovsky has no proof of being a good playoff goalie. So I don't give them a shot.
I would love for Columbus to bounce Tampa.
What an upset that would be.
That would be great.
It's possible. It's totally possible. If
that would be like LA Kings.
Yeah.
Level.
Yeah, that
playoff bounce.
Was that their first cup or the second one?
I think it was the first. That would be sick.
That would be quite the accomplishment.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Like I said earlier in this episode, a man can dream.
Yeah.
That would be pretty funny. But we'll go more into that
once the matchups are set.
Matchups are set up.
Yeah. It's especially hard to pick when we don't even know who's playing who yet, for sure.
Yeah, that's true, because the matchup makes a big difference. You can evaluate some strengths and weaknesses in the games.
You look at their head-to-head matchup and look at, what team plays what style and comparable depth and everything.
Also about the Caps beating the Lightning, that they took the series 2-1.
In this for the season?
Yeah.
Mm. Oh, yeah, and then the Caps, that game too, they also ended Tampa Bay's dream of tying the best NHL season ever. And also Hedman left the game early with an injury.
I didn't see that. I had some family stuff going on yesterday, so I couldn't watch the whole game, but I saw those fights. It's awesome.
That's the important part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never mind the 6 goals or Ovi's 50th. 2 fights.
The fights. Yeah, that's what matters. Yeah. Guess that's kind of all we have. So
I think that about sums it up for the week.
Yeah.
Make sure you express sorrow and sadness as you watch the remaining 3 or 4 games for your team this season.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of us who are not going to be experiencing hockey beyond this point.
You can I'll still invite you to watch games.
Okay.
And you can, I probably have a spare Caps jersey or something you can wear.
Okay, I'll jump on the bandwagon again.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to. It's what propelled us over the edge last year.
Yep. I'll take credit for that. Me jumping on the Caps bandwagon won them the cup.
That's what pushed it over the edge.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't a fan until then.
Yeah, I started cheering them on a little bit more at the beginning of the season, and they started really well, no expectations, and me jumping on their bandwagon.
That's all it takes. That's what it takes.
I take credit.
Maybe next year I'll cheer for Edmonton.
I like
the
that
whole
idea.
Season, and then and then I can take the credit.
I am okay with that.
I think that would be more impressive if they won the cup with my cheering than you cheering for Washington. Yeah,
there'd be a little bit more of a surprise.
Although I do appreciate it still, because the Penguins were a pesky sumbitch.
Yeah.
So, I guess remember to like us on Instagram and follow our page for updates. And
yep, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, we got them all. And make sure whatever platform you're on, rate, review, subscribe, share, whatever you can do to spread the love.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Later.